everyone, today we're going to be talking about the books that I read in November. So November was an incredible reading month. Probably one of the best reading months that I've had this entire year. So I only had one book that was rated less than 3.5 stars. It was an incredible month, and most of these were 4 and 5 stars. It was a great reading month, and I got a ton of reading done. I think I read about 15 books, and I still have 1 or 2 on the table, but I'm not going to push myself because last week was like a very heavy reading week for me. I read 3 books that were almost 500 pages in 1 week. That was intense. Let's just say that. All right, so I have my reading journal because I actually already printed them out, which is nice. I'm ahead of the game this month. I'm usually behind, but today I'm not. They're in here. All right, so let's see, I actually read 3 middle grades, which has been a while since I've read that many middle grades, so I'm excited. 1 graphic novel and 9 Christian fiction. So a little bit of everything this month. And I have had 1 2-star, 1 3.5 star, so not even a 3-star. And then I have 5 4 stars and 6 5 stars. No, 7 5 stars. Wow. Yeah, as I said, it was a really, really great reading month. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first book that's up on the list was my least favorite of the month, and I'm so sad because I had high hopes. Well, not high hopes, but I've been enjoying the series. And that is Spy Family Volume 8. It's a manga series. And the first, 5 volumes I was really enjoying. I love the characters. The 8th, not so much. I will be continuing the series to see if it gets any better, but yeah, this novel was not my favorite of the series. There was a lot more violence in it compared to the rest of the series, but also the violence didn't really serve a purpose in the story, and it was pretty graphic, and also it was very confusing. Like during the scenes of those fight scenes, you can tell who was fighting who, where they were being punched or hit, what weapons were being used by whom. It was very chaotic art in those scenes in this time, and so I was like, I really didn't like this volume, unfortunately, but I'm hoping the next one gets better. There's 3 more coming out in the next year or so, so hopefully they'll get better. And I still like Anya, but I didn't really like her in this book as much as the previous book, so hopefully they will get better. But yeah, this was my lowest rating for this series. Usually they get between 3 and 4 stars, but this one didn't, so I'm sad, but oh well. Okay, so my 3.5 star was I guess I'll talk about the entire series because they all go together. All right, so I read the entire Constantine Empire series last week. Thankfully, the first 2 were on audio, so I listened to those and I was able to get through those a lot quicker because these are big books. They're 500 pages almost, so quite long. And I read the 3rd book, ebook, because I had an ebook and physical, but I decided to read the ebook instead because it's a little bit quicker reading for me. But yes, so I really enjoyed this series. I gave the 1st and the 3rd book 4 stars, and then the 2nd book 3.5. Yeah, 3.5. But I really enjoyed this series. I did a whole review on it on Sunday. I will link it down below in the description box for you all, but it was such a great series. I really enjoyed it. Definitely loved the Roman era feel. If you like A Voice in the Wind by Francine Rivers, you will definitely, I think, enjoy this series. So definitely men and women, I think, would both enjoy this series. So definitely interesting, and yeah, I liked seeing the history of the early Christian church. It was quite interesting and a good read. All right, so those were all 3.5 and 4 stars. All right, did I have any other 3 stars? No, I didn't. Okay, now I can go into my 4 stars. I don't know where my 1 book is, though. I think I left it downstairs. Yeah, I did. Okay. I thought I had it up here, but apparently it's downstairs still. I did finally get to read The Princess by Lori Wick, and I ended up giving it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I was honestly really hoping to give it 5 stars. It would have been, but the main character I found just a little bit unrealistic. I don't know. I feel like, honestly, though, that would have been more me. Like, she reminded me of myself because, like, in the story, she is not a princess, but she gets an arranged marriage to this prince who is a widower. And so she ends up getting married to him because he has to be married by a certain age, I believe. And so she ends up being picked. And so, they're pretty much in a marriage only in name throughout most of the book. And so she's like really comfortable around everybody. She's a great speaker. She's like she's perfect for being a princess. I love her. I loved her mannerisms. I loved her faith. But then, like, every time the prince came around, she would blush, like literally every single time. And I think to myself, I'm like, if you were a princess, I don't know, like back when this book was made, like I think it was like 90s, I think, like maybe they didn't wear a lot of makeup. I'm like, if you wear makeup, your blush is kind of hidden. So like, I don't know if her blush would show that much because I know, like, I get winter flush, but I wear makeup and it doesn't show. So I'm not wearing makeup today, but like it only happens during the nighttime. But yeah, so I'm like, this girl is like blushing like literally every single time. She's so nervous around the prince. And I get, like, he didn't like yell at her when like they first got married, but like he was in like a really bad mood. He didn't really want to be married in the beginning, but like he turned his attitude around pretty quickly, but she was still scared of him throughout the entire book. So, well, not the entire book, but for the majority of the beginning of the book, yes, she was afraid of him, I feel like. So, I don't know, she was just like, I guess, fickle in that way. Like, she was great around everybody else, his family, but like him, she really wanted nothing to do with in the beginning of the book. So I think that's why I gave it down to 4 stars. But for the rest of the book, I did like how their relationship went after that and how they really started to learn to trust each other and to get closer together. And so I did enjoy those parts, but just the fact that she kept blushing every time that he came near her, I'm like, girl, like, calm down. He's not gonna hurt you or anything. It's okay. He's fine. So yeah, I think that was the only reason I gave it 4 instead of 5 stars. Otherwise, I really enjoyed it. I loved the faith content in the book. I love the characters. It was just those instances of her blushing way too much in the book. So other than that, I really enjoyed it. All right, so the next one that I'm going to talk about is, let's see, we're still on 4 stars. All right, so it's in my middle grade books. I listened to a lot of these on audio, which was great. But I listened to The Two Princesses of Bamar by Gail Carson Levine, and I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was really sweet. It's about 2 sisters who, the one is very adventurous. She wants to go out and slay dragons. She wants to go out and fight and serve her kingdom. And then the other sister is kind of like just wants to stay home. She doesn't want to have adventure. She's very quiet. She's very, just a homebody. But then the sister that is adventurous ends up getting very sick, and there is no known cure. So her sister, who is the quiet one and doesn't want to have adventures, has to go out on an adventure to rescue her sister. And so I did really enjoy it. I gave it 4 stars. It was very sweet. I always enjoy Gail Carson Levine's books, and this is one that I hadn't read before, so it was nice to read a new book by her. So it was really sweet. I love her princess fairy tale type story, so it was a good one. All right, and then the next one that I gave 4 stars to was my last 4 star. The rest is 5 star, and that was the second book in the Boo series by Renee Gutteridge. This is Boo-Hoo, so it's the second book in a series. I really can't tell you a lot about it, but the first book is about this man who is a horror author, and the town's known for him being a horror author, but then he becomes a Christian and he doesn't want to write those books anymore. So the town basically is scared that their town is going to go down the drain because they weren't making very much money before Wolf Boone came into the town and started writing horror books. So Yeah, the antics of the town are so funny. And this book, it would have been 5 stars, but I felt like this one was a little bit more slower paced, but I still really enjoyed it. And yeah, so it was good. I'm excited to continue the series. I'm going to probably finish out the series in December, so I could talk about the whole series by the end of the month. Okay, so it was really good. I'm definitely enjoying this series. All right, on to 5-star books. And the first one, my foot's falling asleep again. The first one that I want to talk about is Restart by Gordon Corman. I loved this book so much. It was definitely one of my favorite middle grades this year. I loved it. I thought it was great. So this is about Chase, who is a 8th grader. I always remember if he's an 8th grader or a high schooler, but I believe it's 8th grade. So he's an 8th grader, but he ends up falling off his roof and he doesn't remember why, but he wakes up in the hospital and he has no memory. He doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know who he was before the accident. He has no idea. So he pretty much has to start from scratch when he goes back to middle school. And so he goes back to the school and his friends are like, hey, we missed you, buddy, you know. But then he sees other students in the school and they're acting really strange around him. They look at him with fear, some with awe, some very scared, and he's wondering, who was I before the accident? So he has to figure all that out. He has to figure out who his friends really are, and it was just a great book. I really enjoyed this one. Definitely, it's going to be a keeper on my shelves for sure. All right, and then next up was a couple that I don't have physically, just 2. And the next one is The Clue in the Diary by Carolyn Keene. This is book number 7. Yeah. Book number 7 of the original Nancy Drew series, and I gave this one 5 stars. I've been very careful as I rate Nancy Drew because I have read them a few times in the past. At least some of them I've read multiple times. And so I really wanted to be a critical thinker when I think about Nancy Drew and be like, okay, you know, do I rate this 5 stars because it's just, you know, nostalgic to me for reading them? So I'm trying really hard to rate them based on my enjoyment as I read them this time around. So this one was 5 stars. I think it's honestly the only 5 stars since I've been rereading them that I've given Nancy Drew books. I'm pretty sure. So this one was really enjoyable. I definitely enjoyed this one a lot more than the others. But this is about Nancy, Bess, and George, and they end up seeing this place that's on fire, and so they go to it and they see a man who's escaping from the house, and he drops a diary that's in a different language. I can't remember what language it is. Is it Polish? It might be Polish. But he drops that along with something else, and so she has to figure out what this diary says, who this mysterious man is, and it's just so much fun. I love the old Nancy Drew books. It's always a great time, and it's a relaxing read for me when I read those. Just a kind of like a relaxing read, you know, in between like heavier books. I just love them. I love them so much. So a goal of mine is to definitely try to get through every single Nancy Drew book out there. The Nancy Drew Files, the original series, the new middle grade series, although I don't know if I'm a fan of those. I have to be honest. But yeah, so I definitely want to read through all of them at some point in my life and have fun with them. So yeah, that was a really good one. All right, and then the next one, the rest I have physically, which is good. And the next one that I have that was 5 stars was the Blackout Book Club by Amy Lynn Green. I have a whole review on this one as well that I'll link down in the description box, but I love this one. The characters were some of the best characters I've read this year. I love them. They all had different personalities, but they were all like so well written that you felt like the author like knew each of these characters personally. It was just so great, and I loved it. So this one is about Avis, and her brother goes off to fight in the war, and he tells her and asks her, please take care of my library for me until I return, because he's like the head librarian. And she's like, I don't want to do that. I hate reading. I only like to read magazines. But she does just because of her brother. But then the owner of the library, whose family has owned the library, has decided to turn it into kind of a daycare system for the ladies who work in the town during the war effort. And she's like, I can't have that happen. My brother needs this library when he comes home. It's his like only like happiness that he had, really. And so she decides to create the Blackout Book Club to kind of like hopefully stop it from happening. So the owner says, well, I'll let you have the book club until fall, until I decide what to do. So it's really good. I really enjoyed the characters in it. I love this one so much. This was definitely a really great read, so definitely check it out. All right, and then the last series that I have for you, unless I have like 1 or 2 more books that I'm trying to finish before the end of the month, my garland is going to get ruined. I keep squishing books against it, and it's just going to have problems. All right, so the last series I'm going to talk about, I also did for a review a couple weeks ago, but that is the Love and Honor series by Hallee Bridgeman, and I just love these. This might be one of my favorite series of all time. I love them. And there is a novella that Hallee said she was going to send me. I haven't gotten it yet, but I'm excited to read it. And there's also a 4th book, but it's going to be indie published. So make sure you follow the author on Instagram, and I'll show you her name. But yeah, it's Hallee Bridgeman. So if you haven't read these, definitely check them out. They're great. These were published by Baker Publishing, but Revell. But definitely check them out because the 4th book is going to be indie published, but I have to remember to get it because I really, really want to read it. So each one of these, I never have them in order, do I? There we go. All right, so each of these follow one of the teammates from the Green Beret team that are in here, and the woman that they fall in love with, as well as like all the action and adventure. There is a ton of action in here. I think men and women would both enjoy this series so much. I love them all. Honor Bound, Word of Honor, and Honor's Refuge. And I just love these ones so much. So I'm not going to go too much in them because I did a whole review on them. But yeah, definitely tons of action, adventure. Even though like I don't normally like a military type story, these ones I loved. I love kind of like the secret ops of the military. So like the Green Berets, the SEALs, you know, stories like that I love. So these are great. I love them so much. So definitely check them out. So I forgot to mention in my end of the month wrap up that I did not complete my November TBR game. I didn't do terribly, but yes. So I only completed 2 out of the 5 that I was supposed to read. But since November was me planning out my videos for Bookmas and getting ready for everything that in December, that I decided not to have any punishments or rewards this month. So that's okay. I needed a break, so no punishments or rewards. I am changing that system up next year. I haven't quite figured out what I want to do, but that'll change next year. So I did end up finishing 1 more book in my November reading wrap-up. Technically, I finished it at like 1 a.m. December 1st, but I'm going to count it from my November because it's for it. But I did finish Fox by Nadine Brandes, and I enjoyed it. I gave it 3.5, almost 4 stars. I think just the magic system kind of got me a little bit confused because it's all about this man who he's trying to discover what color he is because they use light magic, and so he's trying to discover like what color he is. He wants to be gray, I believe, and everybody who gets a mask is able to use their magic. And so now that I explain it, I understand it a little bit better. But yeah, so I did enjoy it. I like the idea of using like the white color that was the magic. It was kind of an allegory for Jesus's light, which I thought was really cool because it's a Christian fiction book, and so I like that part a lot. And I know that there's actually history about this man named Fox in England, so I do want to do a little bit more research into his story to kind of see the similarities between a fantasy book and the real life story. So I thought that'd be really cool. But yes, I finished that. That was our Christian book club's pick for November. So I'm glad I finished it before our chat because we usually meet and chat together and have fun. So I finished that. I didn't finish the other 2 that I wanted to finish, but that's okay. I also forgot to mention that I finished a readathon in November called Nostalgic Readathon. It was hosted by my friend, What Brings Karina Joy, and I did finish it. She only had 3 prompts, and I was going to do a reading vlog, but I just got so busy in November that I couldn't do it. So I decided to just add it to my reading wrap-up. So the first prompt was to do a reread, and I read The Clue in the Diary by Carolyn Keene, which I did already talk about in this wrap-up. And then childhood favorite, I went old school. And I went back to like when I was like 2 or 3, like not even. And I picked Tacky the Penguin. I love Tacky the Penguin. And I only found out like a few years ago that it's an entire series. Like there's got to be at least 5 or 6 books. So I'm going to be buying the rest of them for my hope chest. But yes, so it's so cute. I love Tacky the Penguin. He's just this like penguin that wears tacky clothes like a Hawaiian shirt, and he's viewed differently from the rest of the penguins because they can sing, he can't, he squawks. They can swim and dance better than he can, and he can. So, but he's adorable, and I love Tacky, so I had to read an old childhood favorite. And then the last prompt was a friend's favorite, and for that I picked Restart by Gordon Corman, which was my friend Celestria's one of her favorites that she told me to read. So, well, not told me, but I wanted to read it, and she said you got to read that one. So I did, and I really enjoyed it, and I talked about it in this reading wrap as well. So that's it for that readathon, and let's get back into the last part of the video. All right, so those are all the books that I read. So I read a ton this month. Did I tell you how many I read this month? 14. And I'm working on my 15th right now, which I'm hoping to get done. And I actually have to do a 16th too. I forgot. But it's only Monday, and I'm putting this video up on Wednesday, so almost knocked myself with the ribbon. But I should be done with both of those books and have them both in here as well, so I'll put that clip in. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Here's the physical copies of the books that I have, so I can show you. The other ones I don't have copies of either that I'm reading right now, so these are the ones that I have physical copies for. So it was a great reading month. Like, this stack alone is huge. Besides, like, 2 more books that were as big as this one, plus, like, it was a heavy reading month this month. So I'm so glad that you watched this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know your favorite book that you read in November down below. I'd love to know and hear about it. And maybe they'll make it on my very long TBR. But I love to hear what you love reading. So if I haven't read it, it'll probably definitely be going on my list of my very long TBR. If I ever did a video of like my TBR, that would be like a 5-hour video. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not exaggerating. There's a lot of books on my physical TBR as well as books that like I just make lists of. I'm a list maker, so I write everything down that I want to read in like the next century.